Hardware.
Yes,
So, can we start?
yes.
So, tell me about yourself in your technical background and roles and responsibility currently you are holding on.
Yeah, I have around 12.4 years of experience in Java J2 technologies. I have worked on Spring Boot microservices, Spring Cloud Services, AWS, Azure, GCP, PCA, Docker, Kubernetes, RabbitMQ, Kafka, Redis, Empire, Elasticsearch, Logstash, Kibana, Angular, ReactJS, Node.js, jQuery. Coming to domains, I have worked on various domains like banking, financial, education, e-commerce, healthcare, telecom, social networking, media entertainment domain.
So, if I talk about the relevant experience in Node.js and ReactJS,
Yes,
so how much do you have relevant to that specific technology, the React and Node?
React.js is 6 years and
Hmm.
Node.js is 10 years.
Anyways, so Java is less among these two, or you are moving around this tech stack overall your career. That is what I want to know.
Yeah, Java it is 12 years.
12 years. Total experience you have 12 years, huh?
Yes,
So what kind of things you are holding on in your experience means as a technical I'm saying, not as an overview. In brief, I just want to know what is kind of things you are handling in Node.js, especially on Node.js,
no,
technical stuff.
yeah, Node.js. Node.js I actually was involved in uh, creating REST APIs, microservices.
So, what is the difference among the microservices and standalone REST APIs? Where we are going to use them as a requirement. We have where we have to go with microservices architecture and where we have to implement the REST APIs. So, in your experience.
Microservices actually uh, it's architecture actually it's used to building large scale scalable applications by breaking them down into smaller independently deployment services and when it's come to measuring microservices uh, means based on the performance reliability and effectiveness. So each microservice has its own database instance, code base, and they will communicate with each other using REST API, REST template, web client, fin client, or RabbitMQ queues or Kafka topics.
And REST APIs.
Sorry.
In the REST API, in your overall total experience, I just want to know that mm, what or where is the exact scenario where you will identify that here we have to create a microservice architecture and here we can go with REST APIs. So the business scenarios, if I gave you a requirement, so this is the requirement, and that is what we have to create the backend APIs. So how you will identify whether to go with microservice or whether REST API can be e- enough for here? What are the circumstances? How you can identify that?
Uh, so, based on the complexity, scalability, means if the business requirement involves multiple distinct areas like user management or auto processing, so it may be a good idea to break them into microservices, and each domain can function independently and evolve without affecting the others, and determine if certain parts of the system need to scale independently. For example, user registration might get heavy traffic, but inventory updates might not. So microservices should allow for individual scaling of the services, and
Can you please, sorry to interrupt, can you please look into the camera?
yes,
Yes.
and
Yes, yes, now we can come.
yes, and if it if so we can independently scale the microservices, and yeah, that is the main difference.
Okay. Suppose you have created a microservice and deployed somewhere in the cloud or environment. So we are getting so many hits from different sources.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So somehow we have to balance the load over there. So what is your approach to do that? Is we are getting in some microseconds, we are getting number of vast hits over some specific uh, endpoints that we have created in the microservice. So how, what is your approach to handle those scenario? How you will going to do that?
Can you please repeat again?
Actually, you have created a microservice architecture. There we have multiple endpoints. Okay,
Yes.
so we are getting hits, number of hits, more number of hits in each microsecond. In 1 second we are getting vast number of hits into the particular specific point. How then, what is your approach to handle those, that particular scenario?
Yeah, so we can go for circuit breaker pattern. So whenever we are the traffic exceeds the threshold limit, then we can have some callback or fallback mechanism, so that we can route it excessive traffic to another instance of that microservice.
So can you elaborate what is callback mechanism here and how this can handle these scenarios?
Yeah, so circuit breaker we can pattern we can implement in the API gateway, where we can it will decide our load balancer, where it will decide so particular service instance will handle this many traffics. So if that load of that traffic will be increased on that particular service instance, then that load balancer will route that mechanism that traffic to another service instance. So that's a job of load balancers.
Mm, okay, we have to create one endpoint, that's endpoint to upload a file, and the file size is large. So from the front end to the back end.
Yes.
Okay. So what are all the configuration you will handle to upload that uh, some MBs, 2 or 3 MBs file?
Yes.
So how you will configure that particular endpoint to handle large upload and download?
Yeah. So from UI side, that file will be passed to the UI side to Java controller Spring Boot microservice controller class. So there you can use fork join tool, that is a executor service thread pool, where we can assign that we can split that file to small files, smaller files, and we can assign each thread through each files, smaller files, and we can parallelly send over Kafka topics or RabbitMQ queues to subscribers, and in the subscriber we can merge those files to single file and upload to database servers, where like Elasticsearch DB, where from UI using REST API call we can get that files to the UI site.
Same thing we have to achieve in the Node.js.
Okay. No, no idea.
Do you have any idea about the clustering in Node.js? How we are doing clustering and what are the advantages of that?
No, no idea.
No. Okay. Um, in the Node.js, do you have any idea about the Express framework? Why we are using that?
Express, no, no, no idea.
No idea. Express. How you are going to create endpoint if we are going with a Node.js application to create the REST API endpoints? So what are all configurations we have to do in an application?
Node.js REST endpoints.
Hmm.
No, no idea.
Okay. Okay. I just want to know something about the front end side. React, you told me you have experience about 6 years of experience, relevant experience in React.js, right?
Yes,
If I'm not wrong. So we have to create one application.
yes.
Okay, we have designed in any of the UX tool, Figma one, and Figma. For example, Figma, we have design of the application. There we have several screens.
Okay.
So I have to create an application and mm, set up the application from scratch, and all the things means in the application we have different routes, we have different screens according to the user roles. So from the scratch I have to set up the working React application. So what are all the things and configurations you will do initial from the scratch in the React application?
React application.
Yes,
Can you please repeat again?
we have a design in Figma. We
Okay.
have an application requirement, we have a design in a Figma. So I want to create a front end application in React. What is your approach from the scratch? What is your approach? What are all the configurations you are going to do uh, uh, set up in that particular front end application?
No, React. Yeah, we can use npx to create React applications. You automatically it will provide all the files, configuration files. So you can start coding using a JavaScript file, and you can create components, actions, reducers, and map to state, dispatch to state, connect method using. We can create pass the values from one component to another component.
Uh, this action dispatcher and these all things included in React, or we have this separate library for this. What is this actions that users in React?
Actions are so once we got the we are calling the API, so we will get the data. So once we get the data, we can do actions on that. Reducer will process the data, and then it will send the data to the component to view display on the browser.
What is Redux here?
Redux is used for global state management.
Why do we need global state management?
Actually, so state means data, the value of the data, value of the properties in the components. So uh, whenever we're sending to data from one component to another component, so in that case, another if data will be available globally, then it will be uh, more faster processing. So to achieve that, we are using Redux for global state management. So we are storing our state in the state of the object in that Redux, and whenever any component wants that object state, then it will directly fetch from that state. No need to write extra code to ask data from the parent component.
Uh, uh, Context API is we have to manage the state in Redux.
Yes.
And what is that? How that works?
No, no idea.
Okay. Mm. So we have two type of component, class and functional component in React.
Yes.
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 Hope you are aware of that. So what is the difference between that those two component, and in that particular component what we are achieving in a lifecycle method,
Yeah, in class
and how?
component we have lifecycle methods, but in functional component we don't have lifecycle methods.
So without lifecycle method, we are not able to do any operation in React application, anything in any front end operation that user performs. So how, if we create a component using functional component, so how we can achieve that lifecycle method?
Yeah, class component is mainly focusing on the lifecycle methods, and the function component is mainly used for functional programming. So they have not, they don't have any properties, props. They have only a state. The class component has both props and state. Through state props, they can pass any data to their child component.
Suppose we have to pass prop from parent component to child component.
Yes.
Okay, we have one login component in React, for example,
Okay.
and there are multiple form based input field component. We are using login component. Okay,
Okay.
so we have to pass the state from input child component to parent login component. How we are going to achieve that, and what is the need of doing that?
Mm, yeah, we can achieve using props. We can pass props to the child component. In parent component, we are in the render method. We are calling the child component. So while calling you can pass the child component of child component of props to the child component uh, so to process the data in the child component.
Any idea about higher order component? Any use case where we are using that?
No, no.
Mm, okay. So we have one scenario. Okay.
Yes.
Uh, in one of the component, consider it in Node.js as well as in ReactJS. In both the cases, we can have this scenario. In the Node.js, suppose we are creating one REST endpoint or any microservice endpoint.
Yes.
In that particular endpoint, we are calling three APIs, three
Okay.
other third-party APIs
Okay.
endpoint.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Here the case is that whenever we call the first API, we will receive the response of the first API. Then we have to call the second API.
Okay.
Okay. Whenever the second API response is received, then we will have to call the third API. Okay. Okay. Once the third API response is received, then we will merge all these three API responses, and then we have that node REST API endpoint will provide us the response of that. So how you are going to create this endpoint? Similarly, in the React also we have to call three API in the front end. Once the API, the first API response is received, then we are going to call the second, and then API response is received, then we are going to call third. Whenever all the three API responses are received, then we are showing that particular response in the front end application. So how we are going to do that? What is your approach? I just want to know the approach.
So
Please look into the camera, please.
yes, yes. So whenever we are using asynchronous operation, uh, so using async keyword only we can do that. So using callback mechanism.
What is callback mechanism? How that execute this scenario?
So so actually whenever uh, whenever we are using Axios or Fetch, we are calling one API. Whenever we are receiving the result, at that time we are calling again one another call to another API. So we have calling Axios again in the callback function. So by that only we can conduct the method chaining.
Other than callback?
Uh, using API gateway also we can combine multiple API calls, or and you can use rate limiting throttling also. So by that only you can do that.
Okay. Uh, what is event loop in Node.js? In Node.js, we have event loop. How that particular event loop come into picture whenever any execution of any REST endpoint or any application is
Yeah,
going on.
event loop is so, no idea.
Okay, Sarthak, I'm good. I'm done with the discussion. Thanks for your time. Okay, thank you.